Good day, good people, and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I am your host, Michelle Dawes-Burt, and as always, I'm super excited to be here with you on a Sunday afternoon. Listen, yesterday was gorgeous, 65 degrees. Everybody was outside enjoying the day, and then we went to bed and woke up, and it's cold. It's winter again. It is February, so it has every right to be cold, to be windy, to be wet. As long as it's not with the wind chill with a -2 or 2 degrees, I'm okay with it. So even though the weather is cold outside, it's going to be hot in here because we got a lot to talk about today. I'm super excited about my guest today. I want to welcome, first of all of our new listeners checking us out for the first time. Let me give you a little bit of background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. It's all about creatively collaborating to connect and raise awareness regarding issues that impact women. And we've been doing this now for quite some time, and we do it by community service engagement, public speaking, mentoring, workshops, and we've been doing this platform, as I've told my gentlemen, since April of 2016. So it's been a couple of years that we've been having these conversations and discussions and talks, and today is no different. I'm smiling a lot because I love music, sweet, sweet music, and one of the guests that I have here on my show today, that's how we originally met way back in the day, and we'll talk about that. And music has always been our connection. And so today's topic is the Soul Symphony. And my guest today is Richard Cook and Ron Smith. Hello, gentlemen.
Pleasure being here.
Oh, man, I'm super excited. It's a lot going on. We got a lot to cover, so I'm just going to jump right on in there. I'm going to start with you, Richard. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful.
I'm so glad
Absolutely
you're here.
Wonderful.
Where are you from?
I'm from New York, White Plains, New York.
That's up. That's a little upstate a little bit.
It is.
Up a little bit. Mm-hmm.
By way of the Bronx.
By way of the Bronx.
I grew up in the Bronx till I was 11, and we moved to
Say
Westchester
that.
County.
Okay. All right.
Quite a shift and,
Cool.
and change.
Because I'm a Bronx girl.
Okay.
So what kind of music did you listen to growing up in the Bronx? I know, but when you went to White Plains, was it different or what?
No, because I stayed true, because back in my day, we had Frankie Crocker on the radio who played anything. So, on BLS, back then, which was an urban station, you would hear Elton John, Led Zeppelin,
David Bowie,
David Bowie, and you heard the solid funk and R&B as well. So it's just real diverse growing up.
Yeah. So it was awesome. It was awesome. Ron, where are you from?
Okay, that's a hard question.
Is that why? Why, Ron?
Born in Miami. I claim Greensboro, North Carolina, because I spent most of my time there. But I've lived in New York.
Yes.
I've lived in Indiana.
Yeah.
I've bounced around a good bit.
So then your soundtrack, your musical soundtrack is probably very diverse. What kind of music do you remember listening to when you were younger?
Okay, I didn't know this until I actually moved, but Greensboro was a test market, and so a lot of record labels would send music to Greensboro to see how it would do, and if it did well there, then they would push it around the rest of the country.
Really?
I didn't know that, so we were listening to the hip hop. We had a hip hop station in 1982. Nobody else in the country seemed to have one. We had jazz. We had Miami bass. We had I listened to LA Dream Team and listened to New Orleans music and house and club, and so we got all that stuff, reggae. And I didn't know that was unique. But when I got to DC and everyone wanted to know why I knew go-go so well, I thought everybody did. So yeah, we had a real and then you mix in my folks and their music. So
and because Ron, you had such a diverse background, just being exposed to different things, did that spark a love or an interest for you to want to get more into the music industry?
I was thinking about like the movie scenes, like I try to get out, but they keep pulling me back in. That's how I felt with music. I mean, every time I would say, "No, I'm not doing that," and then someone else would come to me and say, "Hey, we need a variety show in high school. Do that." So I always got pulled back into music, and even when I was about 12, two of my neighbors that lived on my block were the big DJs in town, and so I hung out with them, and in order for me to get records, I convinced them to sign up for more record pools. That was back in the day when we had record pools.
Yeah, okay.
And you could be in these record pools as long as the DJs did reviews of records.
Right.
So I convinced them, listen, sign up for every record pool you can. I'll review all the records, but I get to keep a third of the records.
Okay.
And that's how I built my record collection.
Wow.
So, and both of those DJs are still DJs today. One of them just finished being the program director at WBLS. And now he runs the block in New York.
Nice.
And another one, DJ Scientific, is he's by day a NASA engineer, and at night he is DJ Scientific all through the D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've been around the music for a long time.
Did you DJ as well, too, Ron? Because you had that 1/3 that you were getting records.
Okay, and if they are listening, they're laughing because I was terrible.
Oh!
As a DJ, but I had about three different things that I could mix.
Okay.
And so they could take a 15-minute break. I could do my little 3 things. They had to hurry back to come save me.
You had a good ear, though.
I had a good ear. That's what got developed with the record pools.
Yeah.
I mean, just being able to hear the music.
Mm-hmm. So you were doing like promotions. You started promoting, like gathering. You had a niche for gathering the right people together to put on these shows. Is that how it worked for you?
And I think figuring out how to get people in the room.
Right. Okay.
You know, even in high school, I remember thinking, okay, there are 3 real good rival high schools around us. Mm-hmm. So when I did our variety show, I made sure we had one act from each of those other schools too, so we could get them to come to our high school for the show.
Right.
I mean, so it was always thinking that way. How do you create a show, and how do you make it move from, say, R&B to hip hop, and still make the show flow? So that was
the thing.
That was the thing.
What you remember your first one, like your first show that you put those elements and ingredients together?
Yeah. What made it ridiculous was somehow I got the idea that 3 friends of mine, young ladies, that should do a dance routine to Sex Shooter.
Oh yeah, that's the whole in Purple Rain.
Yes, exactly. So somehow they ended up in Teddy's and and doing a dance routine, and it was very popular. But that Monday morning, I was getting cursed out in the principal's office. So I remember that very well.
That was the first one.
That was the first one.
So you learned.
Yes.
Okay. For you, Richard, how was it for you? How did you get into the industry? I mean, you too, being in White Plains, New York, from the Bronx, having WBLS, the staple. That was the staple to listen to for music. How did you find yourself in the industry or embracing music more?
Well, when I was 8, my mother and aunt took my cousin and I to the Apollo to see James Brown.
Wow. Okay.
And that was
it.
That was life-changing for me. I mean, my cousin and I still laugh about it because it's horrifying when you're around women. I don't know how old our parents were then, but seeing women throw panties and literally losing their mind. I was like, cuz I want to do this. This is what I'm going to do, right? And we still laugh about it. But between that and then it was a magical time in New York then, because Central Park, I mean, I can remember going to Central Park when I was like 13, and back then it was crazy how things changed, because even at 13 or 12, you could take the train from White Plains to the city and nobody would bother you. Everything was just cool. I remember one summer I saw Donald Byrd, I saw Return to Forever, I saw Mahavishnu Orchestra,
oh my gosh,
all in one summer. It was crazy, right? So from then on, I was literally hooked on music, and then it transferred once I went to college. Used to give parties. And actually I almost lost my football scholarship.
Really?
Because the coach was mad. He said I was getting all the students' money. But, it was...
You were an entrepreneur.
I was. That's what I told him. I said, Coach, you're always teaching us to branch out. Yeah.
Think outside the box. Right. So what kind of parties? Was it hip hop? Was it soul? Was it R&B? Was it everything?
Yeah, it was R&B. Back then, 70s was pure R&B.
Yes.
But I went to Jackson State, so imagine coming from New York going to Mississippi. So it was a culture shock, but
very much so.
I broke Rapper's Delight there at the party, and it was so it was just kind of crazy. Just how things kind of transitioned in those 4 years musically.
And you have a love for music, and you see what kind of money you're making, but yet you both of you gentlemen still pursued professional careers, like in corporate. You've done a lot of different things. Ron, you were a teacher, financial background as well, and you were in corporate, and so you're moving through that course, gentlemen, and that was just not satisfying for you. What say you, Richard?
I suggest to anyone to follow your passion.
Gotcha.
I don't care how much money you make if you're not happy. It just, for some reason, it just doesn't add up. At least for me.
Right, I understand.
It doesn't add up. And a perfect example, and I was at UPS, right? I have a real good friend who stayed the entire duration, and you never know what your lot is in life.
Right.
Entire career at UPS, and now he's on his deathbed. So he can't even enjoy his retirement.
Oh my!
So it's just certain things that and I think about it because of course sometimes I think, hey, if I stayed there, my pension would be like, whoop, but would I have been happy?
Right.
And the answer would have been no.
Right. How about for you, Ron?
It's the same. I'm just piggybacking on what he said. I joke about getting pulled back in, but the truth of the matter is, this is what feeds me.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what feeds me spiritually. So, and seeing people develop and being able to brag about the fact that there's so many artists that I can sit there and say, hey, I saw them first.
Right.
I'm very proud of that. Yeah.
And one thing you gentlemen didn't say is you didn't mention money at all. I asked you these questions. You talk about the music, the experience, the feeling, but it was never about the money. We're gonna talk about that. The other thing that you gentlemen are good at too is connecting the right people, right? You probably don't get enough credit where credit is due in that regard, but to make a show or an event happen, you got to have the right people coming together in order to make that an experience in which people will never forget, right? At the end of the day, that's what you gentlemen are really pursuing and pushing and wanting to invite people to believe that if they come to this, whether it's a party in the 70s in college or whether I'm doing a variety show, you're never going to forget this. It's going to be good, right? So you guys have a skill or just a talent or maybe a gut feeling, right? In knowing I need this musician, I need this DJ, I need this vocalist. How does that come about? Is that just years of practice, intuition? What do you say? We're going to look at you. How about you, Richard?
I think intuition and just knowing people. A perfect example was funny. I was having Bilal, right?
Yes.
Everybody was like,
we like Bilal.
I don't know if I should say what I'm about to say, right?
I like Bilal as an artist. I don't know if it's personal.
This story, so go ahead.
Okay. So what happened?
I don't know if I should say
okay,
it.
We'll come back. We'll come back there.
How can I claim?
You know what?
Bilal's different, right?
Great guy.
Phenomenal.
Yes.
Phenomenal guy,
I know him as an artist. He's a great artist.
But everybody, we all have our stuff, right?
Right.
And I work in mental health as well. So there's a lot of artists I've worked with that have mental health issues, right? Like most humans. So it was just, we're the best of friends now. And two funny stories. I was out in Seattle and Portland doing shows with him, right? And the promoter that was in Seattle, her parents were in the Sprinter van, right? And they pull over and she says, drop my parents off at this exit. Just imagine we're driving on 285 and we pass an Astrid Dunway and said, drop my parents off right here, right? And Bilal blurts out, oh God, I'm not getting paid my money tonight, right? And we all start laughing because, of course, it was,
she'll throw her parents
out on the side of the road. I know I'm not going to get my money tonight.
Wow.
And but just a great guy.
Yeah.
But just that connection. It's even like Ron and I, because both of us are. I'm a lone wolf, and Ron is as well, right? So. Jodine Dorsey, I don't know if you know.
I do. I've interviewed her too.
Yeah.
Hi, Jodine.
Jodine connected Ron and us together. She kept saying, "Rick, it's somebody I want you to meet." Boom, boom, boom. I was
She's awesome.
Jodine,
Yeah. Like, she's awesome, but she knew.
She knew. We knew, and we've been. And the crazy part, I go over the top with mine, and Ron is like, do you really need all that, right?
He's sensible.
And really, it's sensible, And so I'm still learning.
Okay.
From him, from that aspect, because I want 10 horn players on stage, and you know that.
And it could be that New York in you.
You know,
it could be that flair. That again, you having that experience at the Apollo Theater just resonates with you. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to tell a Rick story.
Okay, come on.
I was telling you that I used to hang out with two DJs growing up, and one of my greatest memories of a concert was a thing called the Fresh Fest, and which is the first national hip hop tour ever, anywhere, ever. And even if you go online right now and type in 10 greatest rap concerts, number one on that list is the Fresh Fest. Well, he has the distinction of being one of the guys that started that whole thing. And we're talking 1984. Going to this concert, what I remember about it, it was the very first one was in the Greensboro Coliseum, and they had 2 stages. So if you're sitting at the front row watching one of, let's say you're watching Houdini, and then you're in the front row watching Houdini, but Houdini goes off and there's no transition like, okay, we got to move things off the stage because it's the second stage behind you. So you're on the floor, you turn around, and now you're in the back row watching Run DMC. But it never stops. And it's just the energy of that night was electric. I mean, and like you talk about, do you create experiences that people remember forever? That's one of those moments where my friends and I will talk about that even, 40 years later, we're still talking about that moment. And I think that's the kind of thing that he does. And he's terrible about telling people about it.
Yeah, well, he's going to talk about it today. He's going to talk about it today. Congratulations on the Fresh Fest. I remember that.
I had a great mentor then. Ricky Walker is a genius. And, you know, I never forget the night we were talking about it, right? And he's like, yeah, Rick, you from New York, and just imagine we got laser lights here, and blah, blah. And I'm looking, I'm like, Negro, you crazy, right? But then it's like 3 in the morning. I jump up out of my bed, and my wife's like, what's wrong with you? I said, brilliant. That's brilliant, right? And the next morning I called him. I said, yo, we need to do this, right? And, you know, and you talking about a cat with vision doing what Ron said, do that and now do the Universal Circus. You know, take a black circus on steroids.
Beautiful.
You know, it takes a special individual to be able to create something like that, you know? So, I learned from, a real talented cat.
And that's probably, you know, to your credit, why you're still viable today. Because you got to be in a space, Richard, to learn, right? When we get to a point where we feel like we know it all, then we stop growing. And so you can continue to evolve because you honor those that have mentored you. You're receptive to change and knowing when to pivot and move. Because times have changed.
Absolutely.
Tremendously. They've changed over the years. They've changed in the past 3 years because of the pandemic and COVID. So we have to move differently. In your experiences, Richard, do you find that the musicians are still truly musicians, or you feel has it watered down or changed a bit? How do you feel about music today a little bit?
Honestly?
Yes, honestly.
It's changed a lot. You know, there is loyalty, but it's not a whole lot of loyalty.
Okay, sir.
Ron and I both have people that we've put on that won't return our calls.
They have amnesia now. They don't remember.
They got amnesia, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Because I have the mindset I'm gonna be all right regardless. You know, and you take that step back and like, whoa, I thought you were A, but you're actually B.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. But the sad part, it affects the business because we need radio. You know, not only the fans, we need the radio, we need the artists, we need the promoters, we need all of us working in unison, especially now. And now City Winery has moved in and they're taking advantage of our market. You know, when Ron and I were getting involved in this, we had Sugar Hill. And Sugar Hill was like our canvas.
Right.
You know, it's not the same feel at City. And I ain't getting on here. I'm not bashing people. I'm just saying it is what it is.
Yeah, we're talking about the differences. Really how things have changed.
And they did what we talked about doing 20 years ago.
Exactly.
And that was, our thought was, if we could create our own Chitlin circuit, The things that we're doing in Atlanta, if someone else is doing it in Charlotte, someone else is doing it in Nashville, someone else is doing, and we walk all through the country this way. And whatever we do, we connect with this circuit, and then a tour makes sense for all those artists that meant a lot to us. Now, those same artists are working and they are on a tour, but they're on a city winery tour. They're not on this thing that we owned and could actually control and benefit from.
Right.
You know, a lot of times I'll talk to people and they go, and you talked about money a minute ago. And they go, oh yeah, you know, janky promoters. I was like, listen, if in the soul music game, if you were trying to get over or make money, you wouldn't be doing soul music. You might be doing country music. You might be doing hip hop because there's more money there.
Right.
You know, but I don't know too many people who are truly in this that are doing this because they're trying to get paid. They're doing it because there's a passion. And I think don't get me wrong. Everybody wants to actually pay their mortgage.
Yes. But, how about that?
But at the same time, I think it's really important that people understand that I know that he does this because he wants certain artists to get the shine that he thinks they deserve, and I feel the same way.
So do we feel that we're getting to a space, gentlemen, that because of the city wineries or people like that or venues like that that are going after artists, and we could keep it a buck. In most cases, they didn't even have a connection or a way or didn't even know what the artist brought, right? It would be people like yourselves that would bring them there, sell out 2 shows, 3 shows, a couple of nights. Then all of a sudden, they've created this relationship, and now they feel like they don't need you in the middle. So is it that we're getting to a place that the art of being a promoter or being that conduit and that connector is obsolete? Do we think that's going away?
I got that one. I don't blame the artist for that at all.
Okay.
No. What I will say is this. It's a different model when you can take one entity and they are both the venue and the promoter.
There you go. Gotcha.
So now you're taking a pie and you're cutting it in half. Whereas if there's a promoter, a venue, and an artist, there's 3 different things, people that need to eat from this. And so that pie gets split up in thirds. So yeah, it's more beneficial financially if the venue is the promoter.
Understood.
And so I'm not blaming anybody else for the fact that we have not been successful in creating the model to make it make sense for everybody.
Right.
I will say that, as you said, things have changed.
Yes.
And I think that we have to hurry up and change with
you
them.
Gotta.
And be thinking about what's happening 5 years from now. Because if you have a thought right now, by the time you actually can implement it, it might be 5 years down the road.
I know, that's right.
So we have to be thinking forward thinking.
I'm going to ask you the musician question. Richard was really kind in his response, so I'm going to ask you. Do we feel that musicians have changed over the years? Like, you've been in the game for quite some time, Ron. I mean, I met you through Sylvia Brown. Hey, Sylvia. And we've always talked about, we would break bread and eat. We would go and have breakfast, and the conversation was always about music, artists, albums that were out, CDs, and talking that kind of stuff. So do we feel, Ron, that musicians are not the same, or they're still there? Because I feel like it's more electronic and it's not as much as people wanting to learn or play an instrument. What say you, Ron?
Okay. I believe that artists are there, and musicians are there, and young people are really about learning the craft. But we aren't celebrating those kids like we should.
Okay.
I think we're celebrating people who are doing it the easier way.
Okay.
I will say that personally, we know some magnificent kids that are in their early 20s at this point that are professional musicians, and they are true to their musicianship.
The art form, yes.
Now, how do we get them in the forefront? How do we get them with the light shined on them?
Yes.
And that's what we have to talk about, because they're there. They're just not the ones that everyone's talking about.
Yeah.
They're not the songs that people are listening to. And I think we have to find a way to actually celebrate them better. And so I'm not putting that on anybody.
No.
I'm just saying the musicianship is really there.
Yeah.
but it's getting drowned out by the drum machines and the simple tracks. Stay tuned.
I got you.
I also think the labels have a big part to play in that.
Okay.
Because I one artist in particular that I broke in this market. I'd never have a vocalist on my stage, you know, and all he has is vocalists on stage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just funny seeing that, and I'm wondering at what point did they change, or was it pressure from the record label?
Right.
Hey, we need X, Y, Z on here, to, you know, and it's working. I'm not knocking it. It's working. So, but it's just like Ron and I doing what we do. It's still stuff that I'm going to be true to in the promotion game.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yes. Let's talk about it. Ron, you touched on young musicians and not getting the shine. I want to commend you both. Audio Wolf, let's talk about that, because you gentlemen have a vehicle or platform where young, talented musicians come through, very artistic, very dedicated to the craft. They performed, we've listened, we've paid tickets to see them. Just awesome. How did that come about? Is it because you wanted to shine spotlights on young musicians? Who wants to take it?
Absolutely.
It's your
okay. All right. Sure. Right. I guess around 2013, we started a nonprofit called the Sound Education Experience, and within that, our flagship program was a teenage jazz fusion band. And the idea was we would go out through Atlanta and find the best teen musicians that would create this band.
Right.
And what we used to say was, we're not finding musicians that are good to be kids. We're finding good musicians and giving them a chance to step away from marching band and create their own music. Step away and learn what it is to be artists. Pair them with, I'll give you an example. We did one breakout session for a series of breakout sessions where we'd take our sax player and partner him with Ryan Kilgore, who was the sax player for Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
And we take the trumpet player and partner him with Jimmy King, who was the trumpet player for Bruno Mars. And we did this with every instrument. And Kyrie Simmons, the bass player, partnered him with Devin Gates, our bass player, and they got to work with vocalists like Rhonda Thomas, and so we partnered them with all these professional musicians to help them think about what it is to become a professional musician. So it's been really cool to see them be teenagers at one moment, and then you look it up and you're like, wait, you're 23 now? And you're out. I'm sorry, you're in Germany? You're in Portugal? You got a gig in Colombia? So watching them really become professional musicians has been really gratifying.
That's good. That's awesome. I had the opportunity to talk to Little John Roberts, the drummer. Similar situation, because he's teaching at Berkeley, and he can almost see it in their eyes and how they behave and embrace the music. He can kind of tell who is really serious about it and who's committed, and he really pours into those individuals because he wants to see them be successful at it.
And we have 3 Berkeley School of Music graduates now. We have one Juilliard, one New School. We've got Georgia State University, Tennessee State University. So we have kids from all these different programs. And we have a couple of kids who did a couple of years in college and then ended up having opportunities like Merle, where he is a very successful hip-hop producer now. But it was being a drummer that gave him the foundation to be able to do what he's doing now as a hip-hop producer.
Awesome.
Circling back to Little John, we did a master class at Tri-Cities.
Yes.
That Little John was a part of with Robert Glasper.
Yes, I love
and Robert it was Glasper. Phenomenal. And the cool thing about it, like Ron said, I mean, it's just like our upcoming show.
Yes.
We're going to have students involved actually seeing the mechanics of this, because if I want to be a football player, guess what? If I get an opportunity to be next to LT, and that's going to inspire me. And it's the same thing with these musicians. So when they actually see a professional musician, just like me being 8 years old, seeing James Brown, I was like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, I want to do that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know how you have photos that pop up on your phone, just like, from past.
Yes, the memories.
Past? Exactly. This morning, the photos of the kids working with Robert Glasper and Derek Hodge and all that kind of, that Casey Benjamin, those pictures popped up on my phone this morning, so it's ironic that you say that.
Coincidence, I think not. Let's talk about where we're at today, gentlemen. A lot's going on. It is February 16th. We're going to have the Soul Symphony. This is a phenomenal lineup. This is great. Let me ask, I'm going to ask a couple of questions. Sure. Why Morehouse? Why are we going to have it at Morehouse? Is it because it's a beautiful auditorium, great acoustics? Like, talk to me. Why Morehouse International Chapel? Why there? It's a nice place, but I just want to know why.
Phenomenal. Phenomenal. And it's one of the best kept secrets in Atlanta.
It is.
I mean, it's gorgeous. They have all new sound. I mean, total redo. It's gorgeous.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I went to Jackson State. Ron's a Howard alum.
I know.
And it's
I never mentioned that.
The HU, right? Okay, go ahead.
And so, I mean, it's Black History Month. And I hate to say we want to keep it black, but we want to keep it black.
We want to keep it black.
We want to keep it black. It's just too much going outside of our wheelhouse, and we need to keep it.
That's a great
and we
concept.
need kids to understand it's okay to go to HBCU. I don't know. My life probably would be completely different if I didn't go to HBCU. You know what I mean? So between that, giving kids opportunity, we want Atlanta to really see Morehouse because, I mean, it's a phenomenal place.
It's beautiful.
And we had this idea, and we actually have done one of these soul symphonies before, and it was always to partner with HBCUs and to make sure that there were proceeds that went to the scholarships for that university. So yeah, Morehouse was always in our mind as the partner, and I think a lot of our delays came because we wanted to let them finish remodeling King Chapel, and then of course pandemic and those kinds of things kind of slowed us up to come back to do it. But we were determined to wait until they finished doing what they needed to do with the chapel, so we could partner with them. Yeah.
You guys have done this in D.C., Baltimore
DC.
Area first time, and so what was the response and the reaction there when you did it?
Oh, it was a great response. Yeah, and interestingly, we had Roberta Flack was the headliner, and very happy to say that we had her when she was in great voice and had no health issues, and she's having some health issues right now, and so we're happy that on our bucket list of artists, we were able to get Roberta Flack, and on that same lineup we had Eric Roberson. Yes. We had Rhonda Thomas. But we also had Ndambi, Navasha Dea from Fertile Ground. It was hosted by Marva King. And we also had a surprise guest in Kenny Lattimore. But having them backed by a whole orchestra, you're talking about creating experiences that were different. It's a game changer. Yeah, it's a completely different experience. And if you've seen all of those artists, but you haven't seen them with an orchestra, then you still have not seen them.
You've not seen them. Yeah.
So getting to hear an Eric Roberson, like in that last one, he's not doing it this time. I actually know the set list, but the last time he did a song called "Just a Dream," and it's one of the songs that he wrote while he was in college. Yeah. But even then, you could hear the strings and what the song could be with the full orchestra, and it was magical. Yeah. I mean, and that's what's going to happen this time as well. Yeah, it is. It
is phenomenal. Stephanie Mills, Avery Sunshine, Rhonda Thomas, and Eric Roberson. I've had the honor of hearing each one of them individually, whether it be kind of an acoustic vibe, small piece, maybe 3 musicians to maybe 6 or 8. I've seen them at City Winery. I've seen them take the stage at the National Arts Festival, the Jazz Festival here, Atlanta Jazz Festival, be on the main stage, doing it. I've seen small spaces like Center Stage where it's a little bit more intimate.
Seen them at Moods.
I've seen them at Moods, and I've seen one perform in front of 25,000 people in Chicago, for Chosen Few. So I've seen the different arrangements and opportunities for them to sing, and they, as artists and vocalists, they are great. So I can only imagine having an orchestra behind them, to your point, gentlemen.
Well, you don't have to imagine because you'll be there.
I'm going to be there. But I'm just saying it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's going to be epic.
I told Ron I wouldn't use this word again, but it's going to be an elevated experience.
And
the reason why it's just like when you hear the harp, or when you just hear that, going through a song.
Yes.
And I think about the DC show. Natasha was doing
Phyllis Hyman.
a Phyllis Hyman song, and people were in the audience crying. Between that and the violin and her voice, and everything just coming together. It was just like, oh, this is just not.
Is this a resurrection of what a style that Barry White would do? Come on, gentlemen, help me here.
Okay.
Come on now.
I got to say this.
Come on here.
And going full circle.
Yes.
I've always had, going back to what I said earlier.
Yes.
Those shows I went to as a kid in Central Park.
Yes.
We talking about that was the era of CTI Jazz with Bob James, Grover. But they always had strings. They always had arrangements. Barry White was doing his thing.
Love Unlimited.
Isaac Hayes was doing his thing. All these. James Brown is the man's world with the violin.
Yes.
So growing up hearing that, I just always felt like we needed more of that.
Yes.
We needed to get back to that.
We do.
That's real soul.
That's real soul.
Indeed.
Yeah.
What he said.
There is starting to be, we talked about changes too, gentlemen, in how music is being presented. And I'm starting to see your points are being taken by other people. They're having the same idea in the sense that full orchestras are performing for hip hop.
Absolutely.
And it is changing how people are tasting hip hop, even the classics.
Right.
So whether it's old school hip hop to current stuff with trap or whatever it is, mumble rap, whatever you want to call it. But when you have a full string orchestra behind you, and it just sounds, it resonates differently.
Right.
So are we at a point that we are resetting and recurating how music is handled and presented?
I think music is in constant evolution.
Okay.
And the idea that an 18-year-old 35 years ago is going to want to hear the very same thing 35 years later is ridiculous. So they've elevated, we've elevated, we've thought about music differently. We've been exposed to so many different sounds, and so many different experiences. Even the last Soul Symphony, seeing like an Eric Roberson in a tuxedo.
Yes.
I mean, that was, completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even when he told me,
because he looks good in a suit. He looks good in a pair of jeans. So good.
Even when he told me, he said, "Can I wear a tux?" I was like, I said, "Is it a corny tux?" He's like, "No, it's the one I went to the Grammys." I was like, "Rocket." He came and looked like James Bond, and it was incredible.
Yeah.
But it's all these moments that actually go, okay, I will never forget that, and that's what we have to create, and that's what's happening with the orchestras and the hip hop. We love it. I mean, even when Guru first did the whole Jazzmatazz album and really merged with the jazz artists, that gave you a whole different sense of what hip hop could be.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening with music completely today. I didn't buy it, but but Lil Nas X doing the thing with the country stuff and the Old Town Road. I mean, it's understanding that good music is just good music.
It's just good music. Do you gentlemen have a say, because these particular performers, Stephanie Mills, Avery Sunshine, Rhonda Thomas, and Eric Roberson, are seasoned professionals. So do you give them the autonomy to decide what they're going to sing, how they're going to sing it, or do you have some input or suggestions because of your experiences as promoters or curators of experiences?
We craft it with very loose parameters so that they're allowed to still be the artists that they are. What we did not want to do was create a cover band and a tribute band. 75% of all the songs are going to be their originals.
Nice. Yay.
We are incorporating some classics so that you'll get to hear the songs you know as well. The beauty of Stephanie Mills is her whole, people don't realize how, and even when I'm talking to people out in the street saying, hey, we have this show coming up, they go, oh, Stephanie Mills. what's their song? What's their song? And then we'll sit there and run 12 songs
12.
down. And they'll go, oh, yeah, that's my, oh, I forgot she did that. Oh, yeah, Home. Oh, yeah, never Knew Love Like This. Oh, yeah, Sweet Sensation. Oh, yeah. You know, I learned to respect the power of love. There's so many songs. And so yeah, I think we can get shut up and let them do what they do.
Let them do what they do. You know? Okay. And getting the word out, that's an interesting segue. So thank you, Ron, for that, because it is totally different. We talked about this before we had started. You know, it was about flyers. You know, they're beautiful. You spend money, and these are nice because back in the day, it might have been paper, might have been maybe a colored paper, might not even look this nice. And so graphics has stepped up. It's beautiful, and so you can hand them. You put them on cards. You're talking to people, but it's different now.
Sure. Totally.
You know, it's like we had this pandemic. Don't get too close to me. You know, I don't know you. Why are you talking to me? So you don't even feel necessarily always comfortable to engage with people in a space like this. And so now we have to depend on social media platforms and email blasts and word of mouth and, you know, still the radio stations having relationships with them. Totally different. Is it so? Does it deter you in what we got to do, or how do you feel about it?
I think it makes us a little unique because we understand the need for social media. We understand that radio is different, but we still use radio. We understand, you know, our websites and such. But at the same time, we do recognize that there is a power in handing somebody a physical flyer or standing in front of somebody and telling them about it as well. All those impressions are necessary in this marketing game now. And so we are very aware that we have to get better at what we do socially, social media. But at the same time, there's a power. Like you talk about 20 years ago, you come out of Apache Cafe, and you go to your car, and there'll be a dozen flyers on your car, right?
Flooded.
And ours would be one of the 12. Now we put a flyer on the car, and we're the only flyer.
You're the only ones.
But the beauty of that is that they'll remember this flyer now. You know, so it's still effective. We kind of have to find a balance. Yeah.
By you coming from Richard, by you going to Jackson State, and you know that's in Mississippi, and you broke ground with people and college students there musically. Do you think there's still some more groundbreaking that you need to do, or that's still available to us today? How do you think music is resonating with people today?
I think music's always going to be music. I just think music changes, but it doesn't change a whole lot if you really listen to it.
Okay.
And perfect example, I had a friend over yesterday, and a song came on. I said, "Oh, that's the guy that made me funky, the Headhunters." He said, "No, that's Eric B. and Rakim." Right? I said, "No, dude." So I played "God Made Me Funky."
Yeah.
But it's like the same thing. It's gone from sampling to, it just goes full circle. And I think it's beautiful. I mean, and I love the piece you just said about hip hop and hip hop in the orchestra.
Yeah.
You know, Derek Hodge did that with Nas for the 25-year anniversary.
Gorgeous.
Illmatic.
It was phenomenal.
Ridiculous. So there's always room, and one thing I like to toot our horn about that we add, because we're actually bringing these kids to the table and exposing them to these different brands and different styles of music. So now that's what we're seeing. They go in one way, like we had this one kid. Oh, I'm jazz only. I only do jazz.
Right.
But now they're branching out and all this stuff. Because they hear the different sounds. They're seeing how you can, okay, I could take some of this and I could take some of this. And,
yes.
You know.
Yes.
So I can't wait to hear Kevin's new project, because, you know, Kevin at one time wanted to be a comedian, you know, so it's, you know.
But all of those different experiences actually expand his music.
Yes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. And I think of Danny all the time with his trombone, and he's like, you know, if Wynton Marsalis wouldn't play at the Lincoln Center, I won't play it. Yeah. And then the next time I see him, he's got Derek Drew, the whatever that Australian, that Australian.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and he's got a whole funk band happening. Yeah. And I saw him 3 months back, in Florida with a group called Ghost Note, and they had the funkiest show ever. And trust me, this is not what Wynton Marsalis does, but just watching them evolve, it's been great.
It's awesome.
And figuring out how to become professional musicians. They have to, hey. You take the job that walks in through the door.
Yeah. And
getting to evolve and saying something you said earlier. One thing, my old football coach, we had 6 people on the staff that ended up being head coaches. That helped me when I got to UPS because I wasn't scared when I was in management to coach and train my people up.
Right.
And eventually, I think I had 7 or 8 that moved on to go into supervision. And the same thing kind of applies here. You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. Social media is not my cup of tea.
Understood.
We laugh about it. I'm a dinosaur. They laugh at me in my job. They laugh at me in my job now because you remember your password? I was like, no. You know what I mean? So now that we're entering in this new phase, 10 years later, right? Because the last show I did technically was Robert Glasper at the Variety Playhouse. So that was 10 years ago.
I saw that show.
Did you?
I love Robert Glasper. I'm a fan. And we'll talk about that, but
And I'll say this too again. He's terrible at tooting his own horn.
Yeah.
But so many of the people that you know in Atlanta as being, staples of our music, he brought them. I mean, Foreign Exchange.
I love Foreign Exchange.
He was the first one to bring them. Robert Glasper. He was doing Bilal, 15, 20 years ago. I mean, there are just so many musicians.
Thank you, Richard.
And most people don't know that.
Yeah.
Because I think there are 2 kinds of promoters, too. They're the kind that do a really good job of also letting you know who's doing it, which is important.
Right.
Because when they're going out there to get sponsors, people know, hey, that's Jason Orr, that's
Jay Carter,
that's Chris, and so they do a good job of that. And then there are those who don't. I mean, and we just want to see a good show, and nobody needs to know who I am. But that's not always the best way.
Yeah, it's not the best thing. And I think that's just old school thought process where you feel that your work will speak for yourself. It's not about you, and you don't really want to be. But you do have to toot your own horn. You do have to let people know that you're humble about it and you appreciate the opportunity to do it, but it's your hard work. It was your creativity. It was your phone calls. It was your emails. It was being in the right place or showing up to catch people, to have that conversation, to get them to see the vision that you have and them to be a part of it. And then it's about the experiences. Like, it's just phenomenal. All the artists that you've worked with, Richard, I'm sitting over here like I'm a fan of yours because I'm like, because I've loved every show that you've had some connection with, or the artists that you've worked with. I just spent money last year to go to Napa Valley, never been, was on the bucket list to see Robert Glasper, the Blue Note, for 3 days. And it encapsulated what you talked about because we rented chairs, we sat there was a main stage, and they said, thank you when they finished their last song, and we turned our chairs around and faced the other stage, and it just went that way for 3 days, and it was a beautiful experience. And he too is a person that I was jazz, and it wasn't until I hooked up with the likes of Bilal, who hooked me up with Common, who hooked me up with Jay Dilla, that I was like, what's this hip hop, and just infusing it with his classically trained fingers, and now he's 5 Grammys in. You know what I mean? And 3 albums, Black Radio 1, 2, and 3, and all this stuff, and doing movies and soundtracks. Yes, I will pay. I'll get on a plane. I've gone to Blue Note, and Blue Note in New York is but this big, right? Exactly. But to see him in a more intimate freestyle setting, and then he pulled up Michelle DiLucello to come and sing, and she's singing the Al B. Shore song Night and Day, her way. I was like, it was worth it. Yes. It was. So, yes, gentlemen, thank you. I'm super excited about the Soul Symphony because I believe it's going to be a night of epic proportion, because it's fabulous entertainers as individuals. individually they can sell out.
Right. I mean, beyond the vocalists themselves.
Yes.
Like the last show, we had Cyrus Chestnut. Who's considered one of the great jazz pianists of our day.
Yeah.
He was there.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Benjamin.
Ben Williams was on bass.
Yes.
Right. Lee Pearson was our conductor, who is now the drummer for Chris Bodie, but he's played with everybody. I mean, so that's what you can also expect in the musicianship.
Yes.
And we've got the same thing happening this time. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things that people are going to be able to say, hey, I was there when.
Yeah.
Ironically, the Robert Glasper connection.
Yes.
And when we talk about connections, DJ Applejack was the one that told me. Applejack told me about it. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Shouts out to Applejack. Go ahead, boy.
We're in D.C. We're in D.C. getting ready to do the Soul Symphony.
Yes.
And I see Robert Glasper's in town.
Yes.
And Jabari, who does arts, beats, and lyrics, he's doing arts, beats, and lyrics in D.C.
Yes.
Right? So, man, let's go check out Robert Glasper tonight. So we go.
Good.
And after the show, I tell him, I say, hey, man, I'm about to bring you to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And he gives me this, like Negro please.
Right, sure.
Like all promoters,
Yeah,
some
say
people
that.
don't follow up. But I followed up, and it worked out perfectly.
It's a great move. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for doing that. And he's going to be back here in June. Yeah, I'm thinking about seeing it. But, again, setting and ambiance is important for me, right? Like, why have an artist in a space and the sound ain't right? You know what I'm saying?
Say that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so, like, acoustics are important, and them being able to be the artist that they have been gifted by God to be is important. So, yeah, I'm going to pick and choose where I go to see, because it's a whole thing for me, sound and, just the whole shebang. So Soul Symphony is Friday, February 16th at the Martin Luther King International Chapel in Morehouse. Awesome acoustics in there. I've seen Sisters in Song there. The women could sing. I've seen it. I know what that place can bring from a sound perspective. This is going to be beautiful. Do we know where and when? I don't want to get ahead of myself. Is there another one this year, or we space it out? Is it every couple of years that we're going to do something iconic like this? What say you, gentlemen?
Okay. So this is the part. You're right. Okay.
What say you, gentlemen?
If you let Richard have it, it's going to be a tour that goes all over the world next week.
Sure will.
Okay.
Bring that back.
Come on, and Ron says.
On the other side of this one, what we're going to be doing is we're in talks with a couple of different cities, a couple of different universities. But we want to make sure that once a year we always do something here in Atlanta.
Nice,
and
thank you.
Stay partnered with Morehouse on this.
Thank you.
But we do plan on doing some other things. And there's some places, like there might even be a summer series. We don't know yet.
We don't know.
We're having some really interesting conversations because of this one.
Right.
So on the other side of this one, we'll sit down and really map out our plan. But, the beauty of this one, too, is all of our musicians are here in Atlanta. So that gives us some room
great.
to do some interesting things.
It's good
Michelle,
stuff.
I want to say this about our friendship, right? He's the dude that, I'm going bear hunting, right? With a BB gun. And he's like,
shoot the rabbit.
Shoot the rabbit.
Why you going for the bear? You got a BB gun.
Yes,
right?
kill the rabbit. Yeah.
You're right.
You gotta go.
Right.
But
because I'm always big game hunting, right?
But it balances each other out, though.
So,
It works out, because what do they say? If you shoot for the stars, you land on the moon. Shoot for the moon. So that's what you're doing.
Right. Absolutely.
You got to do that. That is the problem for most of us, gentlemen, as entrepreneurs, or just getting out of our own way.
Sure.
So I tip my hat to you, Richard, because you think big, and it happens. Like, how many times has it not really happened for you, right? So from an inspirational perspective, we need to think big.
No doubt.
And then because coming from that, we'll get something, right? It may not be the whole thing that we aim for, but you've done phenomenal work.
Yes.
Because you thought big.
Right. And I will say this too. And first of all, I don't think we didn't spend enough time talking about the fact that you've been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah, it's not about me.
All right. No. It needs to be, because I think in a lot of ways what we're doing is all the same stuff, same work.
Yeah.
And that is presenting people and storytelling.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, music is storytelling. Our shows are storytelling.
Yes.
Our filming them, because I remember when Rhonda was interviewed here, she talked about her documentary.
Yes.
That's storytelling.
Yes.
And we're doing the same kind of filming of this. So that'll be a documentary as well. So we want to make sure that we keep telling our story, because the truth of the matter is 20, 30 years from now, hopefully we'll be here to talk about it. But if we weren't, the work would still be there.
Yeah.
And there's somebody at 15 years old, 30 years from now, who's going to be exposed to all the people. They might discover India Davenport because of your interview. They
Absolutely.
might discover Melissa Morgan because of your interview. And then they'll be curious enough to go listen to the music.
That's right.
They might discover Rhonda Thomas, and they'll go listen to the music.
They will.
And so we have to tell our stories.
You got to.
I've had kids ask me about Watt Stacks, and that documentary is the reason they know about those artists.
Yes.
Same thing with last year at the Summer of Soul. That was 1969 in New York. Kids are discovering it because the film is there, and so you're telling the stories is so important. I think we need to talk about that more.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I want to thank you guys for just being men of integrity. Because oftentimes when you're a promoter, and now I want to change it, you're a curator of experiences, right? Because promoter could be loosely thrown around. You honor what you say you're going to do, right? You're not putting people on and they don't know what, they had no idea, nobody talked to them. You're not trying to chase a dollar. Money will come, but you really are putting out good things. And that has to be noted. Now we're in a time, and it's always been, but now it might be more readily discovered or quickly discovered that people are trying to capitalize off of a movement, right? So it's a big, hip hop 50 years. And so people are saying they got these big shows with all these names, and the people are like, nobody called me. I'm not on that. And so people are trying to, again, take what is meant to be pure and corrupted. And I just want to thank you guys for being men of valor, right? For as long as you've been in the business, you can walk down the street with your head held high. Nobody's trying to come for you because you've been men of your word. You've been fair to the artists that you've worked with the musicians you've worked with the venues that you've been engaged with. You've been doing the right thing. So thank you. Thank you. Because we need that as black and brown people, because we're not extended the liberties of other promoters and other people that don't look like us. So we have to work harder, and our sound and our shows have to be better. Right? We can't be sloppy, because immediately our own people will throw us to the wolves if we don't do right.
Well,
right? They'll get on social media and say, that show was this and this wasn't that, da 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 da. So thank you for time after time bringing us a level of excellence and bringing us things that we didn't even know. Music we might not have been familiar with, artists we might not have known, but because you curated a nice package together of performance and musicians together, we learned something.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? So thank you for that. We need it, because we're in a time now we don't have Soul Train anymore. I used to learn a lot from watching Soul Train.
Sure.
Some artists I didn't know about Jerry Butler until I saw him on Soul. You know what I'm saying? Because that might not have been my sound of music, but he was on there and he was good and I learned him. So we need to continue to create these type of experiences through sound, through music, nice, beautiful artists and performers that people are like, I'm looking for something to do. It's Valentine's. I got a sweetie. I don't have a sweetie. I just want to go and hear some good music.
You want to find a sweetie?
Yeah.
But I will say this too. Even in talking, like I was at an event Friday, and in talking to some of they're not even millennials anymore. They're Gen Zers.
Okay.
And so I'm handing them these flyers, and I'm explaining that Stephanie Mills was the original Dorothy in the Wiz.
Okay.
And they had just seen the Wiz at the Fox.
Right.
But I'm like, this is the original Dorothy.
Yes.
And yeah, that was almost 50 years ago now.
Almost, wow.
So
yeah,
and explaining that, and how you're actually seeing a living legend.
Yes.
And so
who can still sing,
who's still in good voice,
and still sing, and looks beautiful and enjoys what she does.
Because she was a baby when she
was 15 or 16 when she started.
Right, exactly.
This is gorgeous.
So, yeah. So I mean, so telling that story and letting people know that this is history, but it's your history. You need to know your history. And it's also right now.
Yes.
These people are putting out music right now. Eric Roberson has an album he just put out.
Yeah.
Avery Sunshine has an album that she's about to put out. Rhonda has a project she's about to. I mean, so this is right now as well. And because we were working with those kids, those same kids that Rhonda was nurturing.
Yes.
Last night I got a song from one of them. It's like, can Rhonda write to this song?
Yeah.
So it's keeping everybody relevant,
awesome.
and you learn from them all.
Michelle,
awesome.
Can I say something?
Yes, you
before
can.
we go?
Yes.
I want to thank Richard Dunn, Jay Carter, and Freddie Lester for giving us a canvas to do what we do.
Absolutely.
I mean, and that canvas, one thing that people don't know, I had an unknown artist, and when her band hit, Dunn, Fred, all of us together was just like, what just happened, right?
Yeah.
That same sister, we got a call from a sister that used to host my show. She sang background up until when Prince transitioned. But that canvas allowed so many people to get on and really created the scene.
And shameless plug, if you want to purchase a ticket, you can go to www.thesoulsymphony.com. Thesoulsymphony.com, and they can get more information that way.
Yeah, no shameless plug. We're gonna give it again.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Yes, you're absolutely right. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, because it is people that went before us, and now look at Jay Carter now with the One Music Fest. It's phenomenal. And then he's taking it to Houston, in May, doing like a day or two out there just to give them a taste. But the things that he's done, and shouts out to technology with the drone and the the shots, because now you can see how beautiful we look in a space listening to music, and the fact that he gives the young and the older, and everybody gets and everybody's learning from it, and that's what it's supposed to be. So their ageism is out. It's all about the music, right? And that's why I'm just so excited. Again, I'm honored for you gentlemen to be here. Soul Symphony is Friday, February 16th. It's going to be at the King Chapel at Morehouse College, 830 Westview Drive Southwest. Where can they get the tickets, Ron? Tell the people again.
Okay. Go to www. I know nobody does it anymore. thesoulsymphony.com. All right.
Shouts out to all your sponsors. I looked at this brochure. Pretty dang heavy here. A lot of people. Magic, Classics 1029. Shout out to Donna Shealy. Just everything. Got that on vinyl. Lamar's, Shirley. Like, you got everybody. Said the Entertainer's giving you guys a thumbs up on this. And he's got his wine.
Which is an amazing wine.
You've tasted it? I haven't tasted.
Well, it's funny. I don't drink. But everybody I know that has had it said it's phenomenal.
It's delicious.
And it's got 93 points. It's like one of the highest. So that's unusual for,
Very
sometimes
good.
people just get into it for vanity.
But
Sid get into it for taste.
Yes, a lot
we
of.
hear you, Joe.
Yeah, a lot of great sponsors are backing this. So yes, please get your ticket. I'm going to be in the place. This is great, gentlemen. This is great. How can people find you, Richard? I know you said you're a dinosaur. But, is there any way that people could reach out to you, or you're like, no, I'm not on social media?
I'm moving to Medellin, Colombia, March 16th for good.
For real?
So,
Congratulations.
I'm not going to be reachable unless you reach me at my restaurant.
Ooh, I love it. Congratulations. For good, you're gone?
Forever.
Wow.
I'm gone. So.
He'll come back for Soul Symphony.
Yeah,
he will. You'll come back for that.
Be back for that. And, be back 2-3 times a year.
But congratulations.
I'm excited. It's like senior year at my mom's house. Couldn't wait to get out.
Congratulations. Let us know how it is, because I may be an expat. I may move somewhere, and just come back, but I'm going to go somewhere else. Ron, how can the good people find you?
All right. Well, first of all, another shameless plug. I work a lot with Rhonda Thomas.
Yes, you do.
So,
hi, Rhonda.
So a lot of the shows that I put on and the projects that we're doing, you can go to rhondasings.com. And on the booking side, that's how you'll reach me. The other side is just... If you go to Facebook, you can find me. It's Harmony in Life.
Yes.
Which is my brand.
Yes.
Ron Smith, Harmony in Life. You can do the same with Instagram or X or any of that stuff. You can find me. I'm out here.
You're out here.
And mine is actually Global Chef Society. So
Global Chef Society.
I'm
gonna have to bring you back again and talk about your restaurants and cooking and all that.
Yeah, the last dining experience I had Juan DeMarcos from the Buena Vista Social Club.
Really?
We actually have conversations with the artists, and we had Cuban food, and it was just phenomenal.
I went to one where he had a courtyard, and it was a night in Paris, and it was like how many courses?
Five.
Five course meal. The band was doing a West Montgomery Lyve in Paris, 1963.
Yes.
It was beautifully curated. The French art.
Yeah.
He does some amazing shows.
So I have to go to Colombia to get the next one. I have to go? Yeah. Okay. I'll stay connected. I'll meet your wife. We'll good. Yeah. I'm gonna come on down. My passport is good.
Good.
I keep it up to date and fresh. I'm ready. I'm ready to go at any time.
You're welcome.
I'm ready to go. I am ready to go, and I live near the airport, so you ain't say nothing but a word. Just let me know, and I'm out here. I have a 16-year-old son. He's a junior. He wants to be a pilot. I got one more year with him in high school, and then after that, how's the song go? I'm a free man, and I'm a free man, bragging about it. Listen, that's my time. You know where to reach me, Real Chicks Rock. I am everywhere. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Go to the website. Go subscribe. We blog over there. But before I pop out, Richard is going to be so tickled by the way I end my show all the time. My favorite, Frankie Crocker would say it all the time in WVLS 107.5. He would end his show by saying this: may you live to be 100 and I live to be 100 minus a day. So I never knew that beautiful people like you